On I Hear Music, what made them not be wanting to use the song to where Double J was just like, don't worry about it, just take it.
No. Double J had already did a record, but Biz wanted to do a record off it. Yo, Mark, you gotta let me get that. You know what I'm saying? So, we paid him for the track or whatever the case may be, but that's 45 King's influence on that.
Yeah.
Could you even use that? That came from him.
Okay.
So he gave me the horns, the and the kicks and the snares and the loop.
Wow. Okay.
On disc.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that I thought was crazy that you had mentioned earlier in the book was how the Spring Again, was a different version that the label had passed on for Shan.
So yeah, I wanted to do a B-side to pioneer this because we had heard the record. I said, yo, so it inspired me to go home and make a beat. So I made the beat and I said, yo, this will go right with it. I went up to Chillin. I said, listen, I got a remix for Pioneer This. Y'all can put on the B-side. I know it's going to be Shan next single. They said, we don't need it. We got it. We're pressing it. We're gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? I guess because they had the dub appella and all of that on there. And I'm like, wow. So they put the record out. When they put the record out on, listen, I put the beat and played the dub appella with the beat. Incredible. Like incredible. So Biz hears the beat and said, Shan don't want it? Shan never heard it.
Well, that's what I was about to ask, because people, I think, get confused when, like, it's the label that passed. So I was.
Yes, the label passed. Yeah.
Did Shan ever hear the vocals over it ever? No.
Never to this day. Because Biz said, "You don't want that? I'll take it." Next thing you know, we go. Hey, what a way to follow up Just a Friend.
So, I think explain to people, because it is a little confusing if everybody's in the Juice Crew. Like, obviously, there's different stories or people know different things, but why didn't you just hit Shan directly? Be like, yo, we'll hear this.
Well, you got to understand, at that time, we were all moving around. See, I used to DJ for Shan on tour. If I was talking to him every day or whatever the case may be, like, we was trying to do business. You know what I'm saying? We weren't doing business with most of the stuff that we did in the beginning. So when you say going off, we're going to chalk that up, because that's a lot of our inputs. It's Biz, it's Marley, it's Swan, it's me, it's Kane. We all in there, you know. So that's that mesh of all of us is that album. The DJ Cool V never sleeps. I keep saying the DJ Cool V. The Diabolical Biz Never Sleeps is more of what Biz wants with my guidance, so to say. You know what I'm saying? So Kane wasn't primarily writing for us on it. Swan isn't singing on it. Marley isn't doing anything on it. It's just me and Biz in the studio. Now I got other influences like Paul C, Large Professor, you know, which made, you know, the full, like, the, you know, going to the studio with Paul C and all of that. It made the album come together, you know. And then Paul C gets killed, and then I finished the album with DJ Doc. So, and from that relationship, I'm finishing this album. I then create the IU albums, the Diamond Shell, the Kid Capri's, and all of those, because Doc is now our engineer.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Paul C a lot throughout the book.
Have to.
And I think, of course, sadly, he passed away, was killed. But I think for the people that don't understand his significance, because he didn't live, sadly, but I want you to break down, like, all the different things that he taught you, or his really imprint on the Biz Never Sleeps album.
He knew music, and the thing of it is not only did he know music, he know how to interpret music. So now when you're doing hip hop and you're sampling, you can be a player all day long. You could play music, you could be in a band, you could do whatever, but you're playing, you know, correctly as you can play. When you're sampling, things are not going to be always correct. The machines ain't lining up with the drummer that was on this record. So you got to fill them in. You got to do a lot of things. You know, me, I've done a lot of kicks and snares live on records, and people never know because I'm locking them on live. The machine is not going to lock it on there because it's not like this. It falls in the pocket.
That was a great story you told about the piano on Just a Friend. How you had to
Yes.
explain that to the engineer that it wasn't like just.
Yes, yes. It's not, you can't play this regular. You got to play this funky, you know, funky and proper, but not necessarily correct. So, you know, I mean, like, do this. And then he had a hard part getting to just the end part. Bling, 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 bling. He couldn't get that part because it wasn't correct.
Well, that also brings me to an interesting point too, and I've talked to Daddy-O and a lot of other people about this. But the back in the days, because rap was music industry wise still kind of unproven, and as you talk about in the book, and we both are well aware, considered a fad and stuff. It was still like a foreign thing to the engineers that weren't in the crew. So, what do you think having some of these other elements affiliated with some of the records, like what impact that had on it? Like this guy, you had to like tell him how to play the piano differently. Like how did that shape your mind? Like, oh, we can use these things differently here.
Well, it's a long story to that, but I'm gonna make it real short. I'm not gonna kill your time with that. Like, I have a guy that plays with me, and his name is Paul Pierre Scott. He's played on every album we did, you know, at some point. He's done things for me. He's not a classically trained musician, but when I tell him what I want, he gives me exactly what I want. So when you hear IU's album and you hear him playing on Sugar Free and you hear them bass lines like that, that's him. You know what I mean? And I live with it. I grew up with him. We used to work in the record shop together. You see what I'm saying? But he's actually, we have a band right now. He's actually the leader of the band. He's the director of the band because he might not be the best player in the world, but he's funky as they come.
Well, speaking of that too, I thought it was funny how you talked about in the book that Biz had the beat and the idea for Just a Friend before Make the Music with Your Mouth, Biz, and you couldn't figure out what beat he was referring to.
Yeah, well, it wasn't for Just a Friend. He just wanted the beat. He just wanted the beat. That beat. He said, if I ever find that drum track that we used, the D.O.C, he said, if I ever find this beat, but we don't know it's D.O.C. He's telling it to me. This before Make the Music comes out. He like, you don't know this? Ring on, gang along. And I'm like, nah, I don't know that, right? So when he finally gets Danny Dan, the beat man, on the phone, and Danny plays him the beat, and he lets me hear what it is, the record is going, get out my life, woman. But Biz never heard Get Out My Life, Woman, because he's listening to it through an ashy system, and it's going, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he can, we on gang along. That's all he would ever say to me. If I find that, we going platinum. That's what he told me before Make the Music, before anything came out. If I find this beat right here, we going platinum. Now, Danny Dan obviously and Biz made a deal for Danny found that beat, right? And also when Biz went to get the beat from him, Danny had traded him some records, but Danny has now told me, he said, man, I didn't trade records. I sold Biz some records. Biz didn't have nothing to trade. So Biz said he traded him. Danny said something else, right? But so we're making the album. Me and Biz had a very great system of making albums as far as what we wanted to do, because I would tell him to write down the titles, and then we would have all the beats that we wanted to use, the ideas, and then we would draw the line to the beat, to the rhyme, and to the title, not the rhyme, to the title. And once we got those titles together, I would go to the studio and lay those tracks down, add whatever I needed to add, finish it up as much as possible, and then get Biz to come in, because the titles were usually the hooks. So Biz would come and do the hook, then he would come in and knock the vocals out. Sometimes it would take him a couple of times because he was scat through it, what they call mumble rap right now. And I don't call it mumble rap, but Biz would scat through the record, his styles. and how you and okay, I got it. And then I would add, and then he finished the rhyme, come in, smack the vocals out because Biz didn't stay in the studio long, and we out of here. Just a Friend is the longest Biz has ever stayed in the studio for any record.
Well, that being said, you also talked about that was the most excited you'd ever seen him ever. So for you, knowing him, working with him, being related to him, all these things, explain what was so different about his reaction and how that then made you feel when you were there and helping make this.
Well, the excitement came in finding the record. See, when his face, that excitement, when Biz gets that excited about something, it's usually gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Whatever it is. When he gets real excited, like he went above and beyond excited, he drove to the Bronx from my house in Jersey and got back within a nick of time. Like my man and them was at the house. My cousin Tok, rest in peace right now. Tok and them, Chief, and their friend had the car. And he drove Biz over there, and we stayed at the house and did whatever we did. And Biz came back with the record, and he was so excited that he had the records. But we wasn't even working on that album yet. So when we started working on the album, I looped up the drum track, and we never had nothing to cross it over with. Now, that Danny Dan thing, he always said he wanted to sing it. So he said he wanted to sing that. I said, listen, why don't you sing that and we throw the beat that you always wanted to do up under that? He said, yo, that's it. Now, I don't let him do the record. I do the track, and we get the engineer to play the track. So he played the track. We finished it. Biz stayed with him. Biz actually stayed an hour past me. That's the only time. Hour past me in the studio. I had to go home because my mother had to go to work. I had to take her car back. Both our cars had got wrecked at the same time. So I had to take my mother her car back because she gave us the car. We was doing 12 at midnight sessions to 8 in the morning. So I had to get home. So I left at about 7:30 so my mother could get to work. Biz stayed the extra hour, and they finally got the piano. Now we're finished the beat, but we didn't do no vocals. So being that Biz is so excited, I didn't let him record the vocals to that record till way down the line till we got all the other records done, because he wouldn't come to the studio unless I did it that way.
Well, it's good that you knew him very well.
Oh yeah. I know him very well, and I knew he wasn't. He was in a creative space, but he also got in a writer's block. So a lot of stuff he wanted to do off the head, and I'm like, no. We're not doing this off the head, man. This is our sophomore joint. We coming out, people expecting us to fail. We're not gonna believe me. It's gonna be a hit. And I'm like, nah, we gotta really tighten up on this. So all the way, it was a process. I even started out engineering the album at first because we didn't start recording at Calliope till after Databank. We went to Databank first, and where I was the engineer, and because I just bring the 1200 there, track the records, and I was tracking like 3 to 4 records a night. I went there for about a week. Wasn't feeling it because now, when things ain't locking up, now I'm wasting studio time.
Right.
So we go to Calliope. So at Calliope, Q-Tip and all them was using it, De La Soul, and Nice and Smooth would come in with us from time to time. So now that was a cheaper rate. It was like $30 an hour. And we was killing it. And that's where we did most of the production recording. Most of it. Not all of it, but most of it.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for
just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The history of gangster rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The history of gangster rap in stores now.